Jacob, one of the main characters in the Old Testament, his name was changed to Israel, so that's why he's so famous, because he became like the father of Israel. Jacob went to a place called Luz, L-U-Z. It's a Hebrew for almonds, so probably it was an almond field. He was tired, and he put a rock down and laid his head on a rock and fell asleep. And when he did, he had a dream. And in the dream, he saw angels ascending and descending on ladders, actually. And he wakes up from the dream, and he said, "This is the house of God." And he said, first he says, "God was here and I didn't even know it. This is the house of God. This is the gate of heaven." And he changed the name from Luz to Bethel, or Bethel, which means house of God, open heaven, place where God meets. Real interesting. He has that encounter, which is a very famous encounter. People quote it all the time. Don't quote is that once Jacob had that encounter and changed the name from Luz to Bethel, it opened something up so that people who came to that same place, that same city, had the same experience. No longer was it famous for almonds, it was famous for encounters. Just go in your concordance or your Bible program and just put in the word Bethel and look at how many people went to Bethel. How many prophets came down from Bethel? How many encounters people had at Bethel? After Jacob had an experience with Bethel, it redefined the territory. Did you get what I just said? I'm saying Jacob's personal relationship with God redefined the territory. Yeah. Before Jacob had an encounter with God, what you could expect there is almonds. After Jacob had an encounter with God, not only did he have the encounter, but even though Jacob was no longer there, the ground created some kind of open heaven so that people hundreds of years later would still go to that same ground, that same geographic area, not like the rock place. They weren't looking for the rock. I mean, that geographic area became a place where people had all kinds of crazy supernatural encounters with God. I believe that people's encounters with God have opened up a new dimension, and I think that this city, like Bethel, I'm not talking about Bethel Church Reading, I'm talking about Bethel of the Bible. I think it's opened up a dimension for revelation, for spiritual intelligence. There'll be places where medical discoveries happen here. Specifically here, because I believe that the Lord's going to open doors to medical cures, and people will come all over the world to study here specifically, not because of the size of the city, but because of what keeps happening here. And I believe that the Lord has opened the door. There will be spiritual intelligence will be so natural here that people will come from all over the world just to study here for a year. And I'm not talking about studying at Bethel, I'm not talking about studying at Bethel School of Ministry, I'm talking about that they will come here to actually learn and grow and find cures to diseases and actually cures to different kinds of issues that are happening in our world. I believe that your encounters are opening the doors for a whole new revelation. And I think that spiritual intelligence is going to be something that is talked about naturally, even among people who aren't believers in our community.